Reddit. What's your no good deed goes unpunished story? My manager finds wallet in a cart at work. Brings it straight to me, and I look in wallet for ID. Call customer to come get wallet. Comes and picks up wallet, and then calls the police, and tells them I stole 400 out of her wallet. I got to make a statement and everything. Video is reviewed, and proves she is full of it. Customer is still outraged, and the police have to literally show her the video, and threaten her with jail, before she backs down. Wallets just go straight into lost and found now. I make no effort to contact people anymore. Got my parents a huge bouquet and those expensive fruit dipped in chocolates bouquets for their first anniversary since I started work. Mom comes in from work, sees the bouquets, and says of course your dad wouldn't have gotten this. He's done nothing for me in all these years. They had a huge fight and my flowers and fruit just sat there on the dining table abandoned. Worked with a guy that was a recovering junkie. He was pretty bad at his job at first, and my boss wanted to fire him. I felt bad for him and respected what he was trying to do. Worked with quite a few junkies that made no effort to get better. So I talk the boss out of it. Tell him I'll be responsible for him. Pull him aside and give him a pep talk. Tell him I believe in him and want to see him do good. It was a pretty good job and paid well. I take the time and train him as best as I can. The time comes when we have to put in some real work. 12 hours and it takes everyone pulling their weight. He's slow. He's relapsed, I'm pretty sure. He ends up falling asleep standing up in the middle of a particularly dangerous job. My boss looks at me and I nod like, yeah, that's enough. I pull him aside and tell him, look, we can't have you around like this. You gotta go. No hard feelings. I wish you the best, but you're putting everyone in danger here. Sorry man. He yells at me for a bit. He collects his things and leaves. When I finally get off work, after pulling his weight the rest of the day, I realize he stole my wallet on his way out. Hope you're doing better, Jimmy, but duck you man. I went to drop my son off at his absent mother's grandparents' house while I went to work at the prison. I notice that his grandpa is pale and sweating profusely. He says it's just heartburn. I put my hand on his forehead and his skin is cold and clammy. I convince them that something is wrong and call an ambulance. I then call work and explain the situation and that I won't make it in. Grandpa ends up having a 5 bypass heart surgery that night. Doctor says his heart stopped on the operating table, but he survived. I go to work the next day and get disciplined for calling work late. Offered to babysit for a couple of friends in my mom group as I only work 3 days a week. Now everyone tries to drop their baby off when they need a sitter. Had a friend that had fallen on some hard times. Was talking about not having food for her kid to take to lunch. So I went and bought her some grocery staples. Milk, eggs, bread, peanut butter, and such, along with some lunch items I knew her kid would like. Dropped it off to her, and as she was going through the bag she goes, "This bread isn't gluten free. You know I can't eat it." I was shocked. Yeah, I knew she couldn't eat regular bread, but her kid could, and I brought food her kid to have for lunch. I worked as a popular vendor that sold food, drove a step van. One of my biggest stores had an employee whose car broke down a few miles away and couldn't make it to work. We had a zero tolerance policy for riders. I was on my way to his store, made sure he was fully buckled in, and explained to him I could be fired if he ducking. Told anyone I was doing this. Suspended the next day. As soon as I pulled into the parking lot, he ducking called my boss to thank me. I'm a police officer. Our department used to carry lockout kits for people who locked their keys in the car, locked a kid or pet in on a hot day, or otherwise needed to get into the car. The way they work is you wedge a small airbag in the door jamb to open the door a little, then put a long thin pole-like thing through the space and either pull the door handle or hit the power lock button and voila. Door is unlocked. Anyways, sometimes doors would be slightly damaged, or cars scratched or dented in process and people were suing the police department, or asking for reimbursements when this would happen. Ultimately our department decided to get rid of the lockout kits, and if you lock your keys in the car you have to call a tow truck or locksmith to get them out. Now if there are kids or pets in the car on a hot day, rather than using the lockout kit and using minimally invasive methods to get them out, we smash a window. Saw a very drunk girl walking alone on the streets and two guys tried to walk off with her. Ran after her, and I got her an Uber home. She threw up in the Uber, and I was charged $150. There was a guy who helped me with her, and said if she did throw up he would pay for it. Tried contacting him about it later, and he ghosted me lol. My sister was a drug addict. Would constantly ask to borrow money, or would steal, and lie to get whatever she wanted. Convinced my mom and I that she was finally turning her life around and got a job at a local McDonald's that was within walking distance as she doesn't have a vehicle. Only problem was that she said needed some black work pants and some new shoes to start working. I learned my lesson a long time ago not to give her cash, so I took her shopping to get what she said she needed. Long story less long. She never got a job and took everything I bought her back to the store for a refund. I worked at a shoe store and a lady asked for our special breast cancer awareness shoes. My grandma died of breast cancer, so I wanted to help her. We didn't have the shoes, so I ordered them from another store in another district. The shoes were going to be direct shipped to her house. I'm not allowed to do this, but I bent the rules for this lady. She bought the shoes, but didn't seem happy. She complained about the price, because Kohl's had them cheaper, but not in her size. 2 hours later she comes back with a friend and wants an immediate refund. The way ordering shoes from other districts works means I can't refund her. Basically you buy a gift card for the price of the shoe, and send the info to the other store who uses it to buy the shoe there. Our system didn't let us refund, or return gift cards. So I have to call my district manager, and explain that I broke the rules and ask how to fix the issue. Meanwhile this lady is shit talking me with her friend the entire time. Calling me stupid and lazy, saying young people just don't know how to do anything. She gets her return, and continues to shit talk me. This is during a busy Saturday. I still had her address, so I mailed her an anonymous glitter bomb. Fostered a dog for a friend who ran into a bind with housing. Her other dog attacked me when I picked Foster up, leaving permanent scars on my face. Foster then proceeded to destroy everything from electronics to carpet in my house. No compensation from friend. Not me but a colleague couple years back. Works as a teacher and takes his class on a week's work experience stripping out a big old office building. Heavy duty labor. Second day he notices a girl not eating when they break for lunch. Talks to her and discovers her parents neither gave her food nor money to buy food. She hadn't had dinner the night before, or breakfast, and didn't expect to eat that night. So being a good bloke he runs down to the shop, gets her a sandwich, bar of chocolate, a drink etc. She eats and they crack on with the work. Next day he finds himself suspended as the girl's parents found out he fed their daughter, that they were too lazy or uncaring to feed themselves, and claimed he was trying to groom her. 2-week suspension for investigation. He was completely exonerated and came back to work, but has since said he's hurt because now he'll never be able to do the right thing again for fear of that happening. Used to be a PC repairman, so I know my stuff. Had to use my relative's somewhat old laptop. Realized it was running ridiculously slow. Disk was always at 100% usage. It had numerous bad sectors. Helped her save all her precious data, family pics, videos, bank stuff, pay stubs etc. by putting it into my own PC so she doesn't lose it. Helped her with buying a new SSD which would also help her with the speed of the laptop, making it snappy and actually usable. Did not bill her anything for any of the work that I did, which took over 1 week as the hard drive was so far gone. She only had 2 OI for the new SSD which went into her laptop. Got a call a year later telling me that her laptop stopped working and that it was my fault cause I had tinkered with it a year prior. Returned a found wallet after several hours of searching for the owner or someone who could get it to them, as it contained quite a bit of sensitive information and valuables. No contact info though. Was told that it seemed like I went to way too much trouble to return a wallet, and was accused of taking some of the stuff that was inside. Maybe you wouldn't return a lost wallet, dude. and maybe you would consider taking the person's stuff. But that's not how I was raised. So don't project your shit on me. After I just spent 3 hours walking around in near freezing temperatures to get your social security card, 3 credit cards, license, $200, and 2 medical IDs back to you. In college back in 80s, I was teacher's assistant for an independent study class just free for all app development. I had 2 years real world dev experience at an aerospace company and was the first to interview at this dream startup my senior year. 4 of the students also sent in their resumes to the company. At the end of my interview, the company CTO told me we normally only hire people with master's degrees, but with your expertise, we'll hire you. He then asked about the 4 other guys who I was tagging. They said none of them have any experience at all and don't look too good on paper. I go, no, they're great, very creative, very intelligent, fibbed a fair amount. I thought it would be cool to know 4 people in this new company 400 miles away. They were hired. After graduation, I married my college sweetie, but the 4 of them immediately left for the new job. When I get up there 3 weeks later, all of them snub me, like I didn't exist. We had all been thick as thieves before graduation. All very friendly. I went over above helping them with their projects. I get them their ducking jobs, and they ditch me at every company party and other social gathering. 2 of them are still there to this day, very high up in the company. I never told anyone what I did for them, never threw it in their face, so to speak. For reasons still unknown, they all decided, when I was on my honeymoon, duck him. It was my first job out of college, and it really made me think twice about sticking my neck out for anyone professionally for decades. I work at a vet hospital. One weekend, not during normal business hours, our kennel worker calls to say one of our boarding dogs is in respiratory distress, vomiting and turning blue. The doctor and I get there, administer oxygen and some injections, get him stable, and call the owner. He's brachycephalic and likely had aspiration pneumonia and could have died without treatment. The owner approved treatment as well as transfer to the emergency room for overnight monitoring. We take the dog to the emergency room. He does very well there, and we pick him up the next morning. It comes time for the owner to pick him up, and he refuses to pay, claiming we shouldn't have treated him. He had to pay the emergency room bill, would never board with us again, etc, etc, etc. I don't know what to say. Sorry for saving your dog's life. Also, he approved everything over the phone. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe,